Hey guys, and welcome to another Schematics update. This time we want to talk about Citystate, which is a small little game recently released. And for that, we have a special guest, Masked Bandit. Hey.
Hey, I'm special.
Yeah, today you're special. And finally, we had both of the bros on.
Yeah, finally. My as Mike called them, demon spawn, are sleeping right now. So I have a few minutes.
All right, don't wake them up.
No, I'll try not
Could
to.
you please introduce yourself real quick for guys out there who live under a rock and have no idea who you are?
Cool. Well, I'm Masked Bandit, and you can find me on YouTube, and you can find me on Twitter.
And now it's our time to introduce ourselves. I'm AdfoTV. I'm the host of the show today, and you can find my stuff on YouTube and Twitter.
And I am BlindIRL. I've been awake for 22 hours, and you can find me at stupidskull.com.
Great. So let's hop into our topics. The first one is a really quick round. How do you like the game?
I like it.
Great.
I haven't put a lot of time in, but I think it's smart, it's interesting, and I like the idea of governing, making decisions based on governing style and stuff like that. It's pretty cool.
I think this is interesting because we have a really, a kind of a mixed group of people, like playtime between us. I have more or less done everything you can possibly do in the game. I understand how the game works through and through, right down to the fact that if you press F12, it opens up a Chrome debugger menu. It's a very interesting game that feels like it was made in 1995, which is partially to its benefit and partially to its detriment. This city building is extremely simple, almost to a fault. You have three building types, which is low-density residential, medium-density residential, and high-density residential. What the game doesn't tell you is there's actually a fourth building type, which you have zero control over, which is essentially slums. So if you have either large amounts of homeless or immigrants coming in at a speed that you can't control, they will spill over and basically make tent fields, and it will fill up your entire city and destroy your environment almost immediately. It's actually quite horrifying.
That's what those are.
And if you delete them, you lose stability, because then suddenly there's just crazy homeless people running around your streets and they cause riots. So you kind of can't delete them if they are appearing unless you want to destroy your city's stability. This game has a lot of really interesting mechanics, but none of them are well explained.
Truth.
I like it, but I also don't like it. I wish it was better, but I think it can be improved, and I think this game with a little bit of work could be kind of amazing.
Fair, yeah. And now it's my turn. I like the game, but I see issues.
Yes.
And we're gonna explain later on what issues I mean.
I think one of the big selling points for it is its price point.
Yes.
Its $9.99 price tag makes it so that you can kind of have a lukewarm feeling about it, but not feel angry about that.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, you have the refund function on Steam, so in, I think, 2 hours, you have a good idea what the game is about and if you like it or not. So, hey, give it a shot.
Yep.
I'm not saying go and refund it after 2 hours, but hey, there is a possibility.
I think it's interesting because the two biggest complaints I've seen are, one, it's not SimCity 4. I don't think it was pretending to be SimCity 4.
No.
It's actually got more similarities to SimCity 1, at least as far as city depth and complexity goes. And the other complaint that I saw is that it's too easy, which I completely disagree with. People who are saying that it's too easy are missing the difficulty. The game doesn't have a lot of failure states. The only failure state that I've found is running out of money.
Yeah, bankruptcy.
Yeah, I wish there was some sort of way that you could get booted out of office.
Killed in a riot.
Yeah.
You're just that terrible.
Yeah, like assassinated. Like, let's go the Tropico route.
Yeah.
So there's no failure states, but it is possible to have a city that's literally so bad people will leave. And the difficulty in the game is keeping people happy with you, because Citystate actually isn't really a city builder.
Yeah.
It's a government simulator and stock market simulator.
Honestly, I would kind of describe it as democracy light with a nice city building overlay.
Yeah.
I expected more city building. So for me, initially, it was like, oh, okay. And I had heard a bit about that before I actually started playing. So I was ready for it. But if you're going in expecting a robust city simulator, you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, the interest comes from the decisions you make and trying to keep those people happy. Because no matter what, most things when it comes to legislation that you choose are going to upset somebody. So keeping that balance is where the interest, and I think I agree, the difficulty lies.
I think the hardest portion of the game is actually keeping your environment from getting screwed up. I found it almost impossible, and there's next to no ways to actually reverse it once it's going downhill. Building mines, which is one of the only way to make money, destroys the environment. People settling and squatting and homeless people destroy the environment. Knocking down trees destroys the environment. If your map doesn't have a lot of trees and you knock down the few trees you do have, environment's gone.
Yeah, but I didn't see any real consequences.
Yeah, quality of living goes down, which then pisses people off.
Fair, but the first time I played it, and that's why I as well say it's too easy. In the beginning, to make money is, yes, I build a lot of mines and stuff, and it ruins my environment, but still I had a fair living condition, because before my environment was screwed, I had an utopia state. So for me, and to that point, it was kind of too easy to make money, in brackets.
Yeah, there needs to be a way to curb spamming of mines. Because it is so easy to plop down 8 gold mines and you're rolling at the beginning and then you're rolling in dough. Yeah. And then it becomes a little less challenging. Because, yeah, I have yet to see any, like you said, getting kicked out. You're not going to go bankrupt, I don't think, from your environment score, right?
I didn't notice that.
No.
I mean, like the environment's not going to have such a negative effect that it's going to cause your city to collapse.
I think my best city, just because it's kind of hilarious, I quite literally built the equivalent of Akira. I had multiples of every single one of the mega structures that you can create that have massive populations in the center of the city, surrounded by farmland, surrounded by high-density, low-income residential, surrounded by tent fields. Even further out, there was mountains with like mines and various things like that, and it was on an island, and I was launching rockets into space. So it was like this cyberpunk dystopia where I had the rich people in the middle. Living conditions everywhere were terrible. There was constant riots on the outer rim, and I was looking at this like, I've built a cyberpunk dystopia. This is beautiful.
Was that your goal?
Yeah, was that what you were going? Like, wouldn't it make sense then at some point for the game to push back? Because that seems too easy then. You were able to do all that stuff and nothing really happened other than, oh, these people are upset. I mean...
Yeah, but at the same time, should that be a failure state? You know?
What if that's what you want?
Look at it like that. If you have a city in real life and you have, like, in the ghettos, in air quotes, you have constant riots, the rich people will be concerned and will leave the city at some point because they fear for their life, because the riots may spread to the wealthy parts of the city. So yes, I think that should be a failure state.
There would have to be some sort of threshold, like, X percentage of people living in tents.
Hostile living conditions for a certain amount of time should eventually cause your city to collapse.
Yeah, exactly.
But we kind of jumped to second to last point here, what to improve. We did. I kind of want to go back a little bit. What are the points we like about the game?
I really like how the government system works in general. It's pretty basic for all intents and purposes. It's a multiple choice system. They give you 4 options. There's usually a very extreme right, a very extreme left option, and then 2 that are just kind of in the middle. And then sometimes there's options that don't really affect anything. It's just kind of your personal preference. And these options are, to give you an idea of a more extreme example, there was how do we deal with wildlife? Well, there's either just allow hunting, hunting with permits, ban hunting, or give all animals the same rights as humans and import endangered species and introduce them into the wild. Like, these are your options. And it leads to a very interesting setup for the way it forms your government, because then as you make these decisions, it tells you what kind of government you are at that current time. To give you an idea, I went from a socialist people's republic to straight up communist to a capitalistic dictatorship in about 10 years.
I like that.
It's kind of spectacular, and I love that about the game, and I love the look of it as well.
Yeah, I like that retro look. I do enjoy it. It's not going to hurt my computer. It's not going to make my potato melt. I like that. I like the conflicts that it causes me to have with myself as someone who wants to do what's great for society, but what I think is great for society, but has a lot of money to spend on that.
Yeah.
How much do I really want that? Or like, as an American, it's a little hitting kind of close to home, the whole, what do we do about weapons? What do we do about guns? And I'm like, well, no guns, because that's the reflexive. But then, well, no guns, some guns. And then it was like, okay, well, how does that balance with the internal conflicts that I had with balancing a budget, my own what I want, and then what I thought would have been best for a society. That whole thing is what I've really been enjoying with as I've played through.
Yeah, I didn't have that one, but with drugs. So basically, I had to choose between legalize everything, recreational drugs are fine, to ban drugs, and basically saying the most extreme one was like ban drugs and jail everyone.
It was send out a military campaign against the drugs.
Exactly, that's what it is. So basically, the Philippines approach to drugs, and I was like, okay, personally, I would say, hey, allow every drug.
Yes.
But then I was like, maybe that's not the right way to do it. Looking at the potential costs for education that will come up to educate people to not use drugs. Also, I have no idea if that's a factor in the game, but you have a little tab that says you're drug addicts.
Oh yeah. And why is there a beautiful women tab? I'm sorry, I know that's off topic, but and one of them isn't SimCity 4 player. Isn't that one of the stats or something?
I don't understand half of the stats, but I kind of love them. Yes, there's some really strange stats.
I noticed myself playing and watching Cleave stream it. It was like, in the beginning, you have a relatively high percentage of beautiful women, but as soon as your state is more wealthy, that drops to basically zero beautiful women. And I wonder, what does that tell me?
Yeah, well, how is that helping?
Yeah.
One of my favorite choices is about the prostitution.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh, legal, 100%. Well, wait a minute now. And then there was this option where selling sex is legal, but buying it is illegal. How does that work? Like, you can't sell it unless you have people to buy it. I didn't understand, so.
Then you just go and arrest the people buying, is the reality of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the funniest combinations I had was I banned all guns in, I think it was my first city. And then the next question we had was to do with security.
Oh.
And there was an option where you could have the most extreme security with armed security.
Oh.
And so I went with that just for the hell of it. And then my chat was talking about, wait, but if all guns are illegal, how is security armed? I was like, well, clearly they're armed with crossbows.
And I like how each time you play, the order that they come in is different.
Yeah.
So it's not as predictable as you play. I like that part too. But yeah, clearly the government part's the strongest part of the game.
Definitely. I want to talk about what we dislike about it, because we talked about it the whole time. It's like the decision that you make, and sometimes you don't know what the effects of the legislation you're just voting on is in the beginning, but it does matter later on, and maybe on a point it costs you so much money, but you're not able to change them yet. So I kind of wished we could change that. For example, gun control. Again, that may change in a couple of years in countries. Like, yeah, now I'm deciding, hey, guns are cool, and in 2 years, the next whatever president or whatever it is in your country decides, no, it's not, and it's banned again. So I dislike that.
Yeah.
And another thing I disliked is I feel sometimes there's not enough to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think the pacing is a weak point.
Yeah.
Either having your legislative decisions all come quicker, or changing the rate at which your city grows, so that because it does feel, you click it and then it's like, all right, I don't know what it did yet. I can't see the change immediately. I don't know how it's going to happen. And then now I'm sitting here just kind of waiting for the next thing to go. Because if I zone too much too quickly, I can't upkeep it. That's been my struggle with my biggest dislike is the pacing.
My biggest issue with the game, I think, is how it communicates information. There is actually a very complex simulation going on in this game, considering it's running in HTML5. And there's a lot going on under the hood, and it doesn't explain how any of it is working.
Yeah.
You can kind of figure it out after way too many hours, but I genuinely wish that it communicated better everything.
Yeah.
I wish there was more overlays.
Yeah.
I wish the UI was more modular. I wish that, for example, if I go into my stats, I want to know what is going up right now and what is going down, and I want to know why everything is going up and why everything is going down.
Yeah.
I want to know past stats, so I want to be able to say, look at my popularity and figure out on a graph when it started dropping and why it started dropping.
Yeah, what did I enact when it started tanking? Yeah.
Yes. Like, what year did I enact what bill and what caused what to drop? It's a political simulator with the city building overlay, which is great. But the political simulator needs to explain itself better for me to be able to play the game functionally.
Right. You're kind of like stabbing in the dark.
Yeah, sometimes you do.
Yeah. The developer has said that this is their first game. So, wow. I mean, number one, this is a freaking marvel. Like, there's a lot of programmers that watch my stream, and they were all like, jaw on the floor. How did you do this in HTML? Like, I can't even imagine. This is nuts what it is, but at the same time, I just wish it played better as a game.
I think that's a fair assessment, yeah.
So, what to improve else?
Well, one of the things that there was an update, and he has a coming next talking about things that he wants to add to the game. And so it says in the coming next 3 to 5 more special buildings. And I know one of them is a theme park, so you were excited about that.
I want a theme park, yeah, of course. Always the theme park.
One of the things I like, it says dynamic prices of goods. So overproduction would lead to cheaper exporting, and that's going to fix your super easy gold mine spamming issue. For me, that's the balancing that, and then, like you just mentioned, a better explanation of how the simulation is running is what needs to be done to really get it to be really enjoyable.
Another thing I would like to see are bridges that can span more than one tile.
Yeah. I don't know how possible this is within the engine, but I would also love to see the actual city building itself gain more depth. Now, the developer is talking about adding new buildings, but what I would like to see is actual commercial zoning.
Yeah.
Which would make the employment make more sense. Or at the very least, make commercial buildings spawn in naturally within the other buildings.
Yeah, just have a general zoning.
Yes.
High, medium, or low. And yeah, that would be... Because I was like, wait a minute, I'm building this residential. Where are they working? They're not all working at this mine. I don't understand.
Yeah, it's all residential, right?
That's actually a very good point, because you have in your statistics an unemployment rate, and I have no idea how to fix that.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
I have no idea how the unemployment rate works whatsoever. So I do wish that there was some sort of commercial zoning, and I would love to see some sort of pipes system, some sort of water system. Right now, all water does is it improves land value, and that's it.
Yeah.
I would love to see water actually play a role in the game. There is always, like, the statement of, oh, I would like to see power stations. I don't even want that. I just want the ability to maybe not even go underground necessarily. You could do this with overlays, but I want to have to run sewers to my city, and I want to pollute water.
Yeah, and then your environment score comes into play even more then.
Yeah.
And that also would play into the pacing issue, because you'd have more stuff to do in your city while you're working. Now, the developer also mentioned a university. I'd be curious to see how that would work. Maybe that would just be a building that you plop down it and increases land value. But I think ideally it would be more of a SimCity style of schooling system, where in order to increase education, you would have to first put money into education and then also put down schools, and then those areas would get the benefits from putting money into the education instead of just the entire city.
Not only that, I mean, students are quite vocal about things that doesn't go well in your city or in your state.
Yeah.
They will complain about the environment, so maybe that's a factor as well.
Yeah, more in the city builders side would be much appreciated, because it's just right now roads and residential pretty much,
which works.
Yeah.
I put 11 hours into the game. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, the city builders, the overlay, like we were saying, it really is a political simulator.
So guys, let's wrap this up. In your opinion, who should play the game?
Someone who just wants a light city builder with a overlaid political system which is interesting enough to keep you going, and I would recommend looking at the achievements and looking at a type of government that you can get, such as a dictatorship, for example, or going straight down the socialism line and becoming communism. Figure out an extreme that you want to go for and try and do that without setting your city on fire. It's quite a bit of fun.
Yeah, I think that it appeals to people who, because the game doesn't give you many goals, it's really your decision. So people who want to just fool around and, like you said, aim for specific, I want to do this today. Like, the most fun I had was when I said I want to create an oil-based city. So I created a map with lots and lots of desert and nothing else, and it kicked me in the butt, because I realized I had to clear all that desert, but to build anything.
Oh, true.
It's not a major time suck. Like, it's not like some of the other creative building games where you have to sit there and put an hour or two in to get anything of value out. It's an easy sit down and play.
You can have a city done and crash and burn in 2 hours.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Heck, 30 minutes if you're really bad like I am. But yeah, it's weird because is it for the casual gamer? I don't know. Yes?
I think it's for the armchair gamer.
Yeah.
Between hardcore and casual, the person that just wants to sit back, relax, and enjoy a gaming session.
It's basically what I told Mask before we start recording. It was like, before we start recording, I had an hour of doing nothing, and I didn't want to play another game, but I don't want to sit around doing nothing. So, hey, I started Citystate and played for an hour. It's a nice and easy time sink, in my opinion.
Yeah, if that's what you're looking for, I think you'd enjoy the game.
Yep. Also, it's $10. I mean, come on.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
I think we're done here for today. Mask, thanks a lot for joining again and talking with us about a Citystate.
Thanks.
And for our listeners and viewers, thanks for listening. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions whatsoever, we have a wonderful comment section under the video. Feel free to use it. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.